What is up, everyone? I'm Jeff London. This is the Mediocre Alaskan Podcast, where we are intolerant of weak-minded attitudes that keep people from pursuing new and exciting things in the areas of fitness, outdoors, and general lifestyle. I got bear in the crock pot right now. It smells of barbecue and Chipotle and beer all at once. That is cooking over there in the crock pot that I'm staring at right now. So I got a bear on Saturday. In typical Lund fashion, things did not happen as exactly planned. The thing is, you want success at things, but if things happen exactly as they're supposed to, there's no story. So what we really want is we want some adversity to overcome so that when we tell the story, it sounds better, like there was some sort of adventure. If I were to say, yep, went out bear hunting, got a bear, brought it back. Now it's cooking in the crock pot. Well, part of it, not the whole thing. To cook an entire bear would be, I take a large crock pot. It'd be a crock pot like the size of a washing machine. It's a big crock pot. But anyway, so Friday went out with a buddy of mine. We took his boat. He's got a really nice Hughes craft. He's got a Hughes craft that every time I'm in it, I think, hey, Jeff, you need a boat. And then I thought, well, hey, you got a friend with a boat. I have a 15-foot Boston Whaler. That is a 1985 Boston Whaler. Not new, A. And B, maybe a little bit ironic that my last name is Lund, and I do not own a Lund skiff, which is one of the most popular, if not the most popular skiff in Alaska. So exercise in irony there from an English teacher. So I have that little thing that I dink around in. It's a great little vessel for setting some crab pots, doing some trolling that's pretty close to town, to get into some rivers that are pretty close. Or hunting areas that are pretty close, but as far as longer trips, not going to happen. So my buddy has a bigger boat, which we can sleep on. He's got sleeping quarters on. He's got a stove so we cook meals and a spot to eat, and of course a nice little fishing deck out of the back. So we head over Friday after school to where we're going to hunt. We get there in about 2.5 hours or so, and as soon as we're dropping anchor, we see a bear right off the bat. No way we're going to get this bear, because it's going to spook. As soon as it hears the engine or the motor of the raft that we take to shore, it's going to spook. So I'm thinking about that the entire time that we are taking the raft to the river or to the shore, and it's still there. Still there. We make land, and the thing is still there. We landed a little bit off from it, obviously, where we could tuck into this little cove. We tied up the raft, and we started working down the beach. And there were these two little spits that were wooded, so we could kind of creep up to that point and peek around the corner and see what was going on. So we get to, it was 260 yards at first. We get around one of the spits, and it's closer, and we see the bear sit down. But it's partly obstructed. We want to make sure we have a good shot. So it was sitting down facing us, which isn't a great shot. A brisket shot straight up there. They're pretty muscular in the chest area, so you want to make sure you have an unobstructed good shot. So we worked to get a little bit closer, and because it seems so relaxed, like it's not going to bolt, there's no need to rush the shot. So we get closer, go back into the woods, and when we emerge from the woods again, thing's gone. Which was what we expected, but not at that point. We expected it to spook long ago. So the fact that it had not spooked by the time we were starting to make toward it, we thought, hey, this is going to happen. It's going to happen right now, right off the bat. Pretty unblemished hide. The only rub on it was not on the sides. It was just right above the nose, kind of between the eyes. And so on the head, it was a cool looking bear. But again, didn't get it. Next day, we spend 7 hours looking at a beach in the morning. And black bear, it's usually best in the evening, about 2 hours before sunset. It's kind of when they come out and start prowling on the beaches. But that entire night sleeping in the boat, I'm thinking about that bear. I'm thinking about a bear in general. just the whole process. We're out here, we're hunting bears, and it's spring bears, so the bear are going to taste a lot better, and you have to salvage the meat and the hide. So just, what am I going to do with the bear? A buddy of mine wants the hide. He wants to put it on his business, or the wall of his business down in California. It's Caffeine and Kilos. My buddy Danny wants it. So I want to get a nice bear for him, but also don't want to shoot a bigger bear than the one that I've got on my wall. So anyway, I'm thinking about all that stuff kind of as I'm sleeping. So it's one of those sleeps where you're asleep and you're going to be rested, but because it's so hyper specific to what you want to happen, it almost doesn't feel like sleep, because it seems like you're almost controlling your dreams to a degree. If I'm not hyper focused on a fishing trip or on a hunt, I'll dream about like dunking. Like I'm playing basketball and I'm dunking, which is totally unreasonable, totally ridiculous. I don't know why. No need to go all Freud on it. Or other times I just random weird dreams about like kids throwing desks, and I don't even have desks. I don't know, just totally weird. But that night, super specific. So after 7 hours, looking at the same beach, Buddy and I go back to the boat for lunch, decide to split up. He drops me off right where we saw the bear the day before. He goes back to where we sat in the morning, knowing that the evening is going to be the best time to see a bear coming out. So I get on the beach, and I creep around, and I figure that bear may have been scared off by us, and so it's not going to be quite as exposed. It might be kind of back in the little channel where the creek is. But the nice thing about that is I can get all the way to 50 yards across the creek, because it almost makes a 90-degree turn back behind that lip. So anyway, you can't even picture this in your head. But anyway, it's better. The spot that I was going to stalk was better. It's less exposed. So I creep around the spit, and I see that, yes, in fact, there is a bear there. It's not the bear from the day before, but this thing has a beautiful black coat. I think, here we go. It's on. So I backtrack, and I'm going to move directly through the woods so I'm even closer, and directly across from it. So I look through a little hole in the trees, and I'm about right there, and I see it. But only if I'm standing full up do I have a spot to take the picture, and it's almost squared directly up to me. So I don't want to take a standing shot. I want to take a good shot that I have a nice rest. And so I try to get down to get right between where the forest ends and the beach begins. It's pretty steep, and the overhanging branches provide some cover. And so I was going to try to sneak down there and see if there was a way that I could still be pretty hidden, but if there's a shooting lane through the branches, I could make a shot. As soon as I duck down and take my pack off, bear's gone. And the wind had swirled just a little bit, and so it was at my back rather than in my face like it had been the day before. So the bear takes off into the woods. A little upset. I totally expose myself to not like, expose myself, but get down on the beach. I'm just standing there, and I think, well, what do I got to do? I like the spot. We'll see if it maybe comes out again. So I cross the little creek, and I sit directly across. I might have to draw this out. I'm going to draw this out. I'm going to draw some lines. There's going to be a picture and some lines, and I'm going to do that. So find another spot. I wait for about 15 minutes, and sure enough, the bear does come back out further down the beach. I had marked two things. I had marked a tree that was at 150, and I had marked the back of the grassy area at 250. So there's a 100-yard discrepancy. In between is just this grassy flat, which is so hard to distinguish exactly where something is at on the grassy flat, because with nothing that you can really put a laser onto to get a reading, you're talking about a 100-yard discrepancy. On the right side of all that was forest, but it was brushy. And so, you couldn't get like a really good solid reading on any of that. So when the bear emerged and it started working toward me, which is what I wanted, because it seemed like it came from toward the back, and I was looking as it was kind of working toward me, and then it turned broadside to me like it was going to go back in the woods. And I figured, and I was looking at it through my scope, because if these things had been a little bit skittish, I didn't want to be ranging it when it takes off. And so because it was broadside, I just kept it in my scope, and I judged that it was probably really close to the front side of that grassy area, the grass flat, which is why I was going to head back into the brush or into the woods. So I was thinking 150, and I shot.
After years of fine print contracts and getting ripped off by big wireless providers, if we've learned anything, it's that there's always a catch. So when I first heard that Mint Mobile offers premium wireless starting at just $15 a month, I thought, what's the catch? But after talking to them and using their service, it all made sense. There isn't one. Mint Mobile's secret sauce is that they're the first company to sell wireless service online only. They cut out the cost of retail stores and pass those sweet savings directly to you. For anyone who hates their phone bill, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. I was hesitant about having to get a new phone and a new phone number, but with Mint, you can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone and your same phone number along with all of your existing contacts. Mint Mobile gives you the best rate whether you're buying for one or for a family, and at Mint, families start at 2 lines. All plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and to get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/waypoint. That is mintmobile.com/waypoint. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/waypoint.
And I missed. I rose up. And I know the nice thing about shooting, and if you pay attention to what you do when you shoot and what you may have done if you happen to miss, is I get excited and I don't necessarily go through my ritual, and I look up, and in doing so, I drop the barrel of my gun. And rather than watch everything through the scope or focus on watching the hit through the scope to make sure that you don't do that, I felt like I'd rose up. I didn't feel good about it, and the bear didn't react to anything. You didn't see that like shock of a hit and then it take off. No reaction whatsoever, and then it almost like it got startled by something and took off into the woods. And so I thought, man, I probably missed. So I gave it 20 minutes, and then I walked down there looking for blood. Saw nothing, and then I realized that it was pretty far back on that grassy flat. So what I thought was 150 ended up being more like I was 50 to 75 yards off, and add in the problem that I have with shooting. And so I looked around, zero blood, and then I actually found where the bullet had engaged with the ground, because I was shooting a little bit below the elevation of where this grassy field was. And so I actually saw where the bullet had just cut through grass, and clean miss, easy to tell. I was way off on yardage. And so it means that I thought it was a decent bear. It was a decent bear up close, but it was actually a bigger bear further away. So clean miss, no blood, no hair, no anything. And then I saw where the bullet had hit the ground. So a little upset. Went to a pretty exposed spot and just kind of sat there, knowing that I wasn't going to get another shot, because you can spook them off if they see you. But with loud noises, he's not going to come out a third time. I checked behind me, and maybe 40 yards from where I had taken that shot. So I was down in the grassy knoll, and I was looking around there. So I was 150 yards from where I'd taken the shot. And I look 40 yards up from where I had taken that shot, and there was a bear crossing, a big bear, massive bear. So once it crossed the creek and went into the woods, on the opposite side of the woods. It was going to cut through the woods, and there's a little bay. So I thought, dude, it could be heading for that bay and that shore. So I crossed the creek and ran along the beach as it was cutting through the woods. Ran. I go around 2 small little inlets, and we're talking maybe 300 yards of total running once you look at moving the contours of the beach. And I sit down underneath this tree, and I'm just waiting to see if the thing comes out. And it does. And I think, dude, there's no way this is happening right now. So it gets behind, there's this dead tree, and I look, and it's got that same rub above the nose or between the eyes, top of the head that I had we'd seen the day before, and it was that bear. This is a really nice bear. So I look at it, and it's behind this tree, and it's looking at me, and it's almost broadside, but there are some tree branches in between. And I don't take the shot. I'm looking at it, looking. And I had probably 30 seconds or so from when I ran and got there and got set up to when it came out. And I was just looking. I didn't give myself a good rest. I didn't get to like a shooting spot. So it's looking in my direction, and I can't make a move. I mean, this thing had spooked the day before for an unknown reason. It couldn't see us. So for some reason, it just took off. It may have hurt us, but we were pretty quiet. We weren't talking. So all I have, I bring my knee up, and I settled my rifle, and I'm just watching it through the rifle scope. And then it steps out from behind that dead tree, and it stops and walks. And I think, dude, the next time it stops, I got to take the shot. Otherwise, it's going to keep going. So it stops. It's broadside. I take the shot. I'm a little bit high, so it drops it, but then it gets up partway for a second. I hit the spine. So I put another one in it, dropped it, done. Walk over to it, and it's just... man, it's a beautiful bear. In those moments, you just feel that it's massive and the biggest bear you've ever seen. Beautiful, hide unblemished except for the rub. Gutted it, and then had to roll it up the beach against the tide, or because the tide was coming up, so I had to roll it up the beach, and it took all of my energy. This thing just had its neck. And its arms were just huge. The upper body was massive. The if you just looked at the back part of it, the back legs, didn't look massive. Looked like, solid, okay, decent bear. But man, that front was just so much bulk there. So I roll it up a little bit away from the tide, wait for my buddy to get back. He ended up seeing a really, really nice bear with a white patch on its chest in the shape of a V. So the white patch is a cool little thing to have. If you get a bear with one of those, it's different. You have a black bear with that dark black coat, but when it's got that nice little white patch, provides some character. That and scars are pretty cool. This thing had a V in it. It was almost like it was wearing a letter jacket or something like that. So check that out. He checked that out. Didn't get a shot. It came in, sat down. It was like 280 or something like that, and he didn't want to take the shot. So, but anyway, so I waited for him to get back. He gets back. We get it onto the boat, which was a huge pain. We were trying to lift it onto the raft, and so we put a tarp underneath, rolled it onto a tarp, and we're going to lift the tarp because we get a better grip on the tarp. And as soon as we lift, it just tears through the tarp. So we ended up getting the back legs up into the raft and then shifting the entire thing over. It was getting pretty close to dark, and we didn't want to skin it on the beach in the dark. Just figured, hey, just get on the boat. We'll skin it in the morning. So the next morning, while he was out, while Tony was out hunting, he was looking for another bear. I was in the back of the boat, and there was enough space to skin it out. It wasn't totally ideal, but there was enough space. And that was the first bear that I've skinned solo, which was kind of cool. At some point you have to take responsibility for all parts of the process. If you shoot a nice bear and then someone else skins it and processes it, you're not doing everything. You're partaking in the fun part of it. So to skin it out and make some mistakes, but take a long time and try to figure out what to do. I think I did all 4 legs a little bit differently. That's part of it. It was kind of fun to learn and do that, and like I said, take responsibility, be accountable for that. So that's the bear story. Came back. Tony ended up not getting one, so not a huge deal. It's got a long season, got a lot of bears around, so it's nice to be able to pass too, where you don't dependent on getting one. The one time you get out, the one chance you get. So, but it gets you thinking. You get out, and it's hard to not get at least a little bit romantic about the whole deal, because you live in a spot where people vacation. We came back into town, and people are on cruise ships visiting Ketchikan, and you can't help but get that feeling that, well, I live here. This is where I call home. People are remarking about how beautiful it is, because it was in the mid 60s, upper 70s, which in Ketchikan, Alaska feels like it's 75, 80. There's like a 10 to 15 degree bump, because it's just so beautiful. And you think a place this beautiful and this severe, there'd have to be a consequence. And so when it's warm, it just feels like the best place in the world. Like, how do more people not live here? Which, of course, we're glad we're not. And you have the winter and you have everything else, but it's just unmatched beauty. And it's such people take a vacation from their lives to come up here, because it's all the same. If you're in an urban setting, it's all the same. There's a Starbucks in that little strip mall that's closest, and there's a grocery store. It's a grocery store, a little beauty salon, and a Starbucks, and a dry cleaners. It's just the same. It's the same no matter where you go. You change the name of the chain restaurant or the local restaurant, it's just the same. And I know I just said local restaurant, but there's a recipe for urban life, and it involves a coffee shop and the nearest grocery store and development and a local entity and a big box entity, and it's just the same. And when you come to Ketchikan, Alaska, you come to places like Ketchikan, Alaska, or there are rural parts of states where it's different, and you're seeing nature on such a close scale, and your weekend adventure isn't going out to a sports bar. Which when I was in California, I loved going to Chili's, watch a game, and I had a couple of friends that worked there, and so yeah, there's nothing wrong with that at all. But there is definitely something different about going to a spot that is that wild, and you can't help but wonder if you have what it takes to live there, because just a couple generations ago, everyone had to be adventurous. You had to be. That was part of the existence. There was no, I'm not one of those people that's going to be an outdoorsman. I'm not going to be one of those people who has to suffer through things. In the 1800s, 1700s, and that's modern. That's recent. You had to. When you were doing westward expansion, you had to have skills. You had to be able to get your hands dirty. There was no... We were at a point of such absolute relaxation that there are some primal urges, or there are some urges that are in our DNA because our great-great-grandparents, that's not even that far. Like, we may have even known those people, known the people who lived such rugged lives. And so when people come to Ketchikan or to Alaska and they love it on some level that they can't really explain, and then they go back to their lives and they're happy and it's comfortable, but there's that curiosity that's been, like, oh man, that's still part of me. That's still in me. Rugged mountains, weekends doing real things. You're not outsourcing the growing, killing, processing, and shipping of food. Going out there and getting it yourself. And if you don't, that's fine. You can still do the wildness of kayaking. You don't have to plan 2 weeks in ahead to get everything together, get everything organized, to go up to the lake for a couple of days. It's all right here. The brochure of every place sounds really good. You can convince yourself that anywhere sounds really good. I have this here, this is there, this is there, this is there, this is there, and you can do this. Well, you can, but are you going to? That's the big question. When I moved to Manteca, California, people said, man, Manteca is great because it's centrally located, and you're 2 hours from the mountains, you're 2 hours from the beach. Yeah, you are. So if you're 2 hours from everything, well, where are you? Being someone who likes the outdoors, I mean, it was totally ridiculous of me to expect that it was going to be different. But, I'm used to the outdoors being right outside the front door, not down a highway. And so that was for me to deal with. People who were in Manteca or in the Central Valley loved it because depending on which direction, what you were feeling, you have great access to some unbelievable things. California is totally beautiful. I'm talking to my buddy Eric down in California. He's from California and grew up there, and he loves the outdoors. Loves to go to go hike. Doesn't do it as much, but he said there's nothing like this in the world. When we were in Yosemite, we were doing a hike. I said absolutely, there's no question, and you can't even compare it to Alaska. It's just so different. When you're in Yosemite Valley, you look at Half Dome. There's nothing like Half Dome in the world. There are things that might be similar, but as far as that iconic Half Dome structure is beautiful. If you look at it from that perspective, it's unique. And then you look at between the trees and all the tourism and all the people and all the chaos that's there, and that's just, man, it's to be there before it was developed had to been just amazing. So, and again, that's a 2-hour drive. It's a 2-hour drive, and then there's traffic getting in there. There's hard or no packing, or no parking. Sorry, a little different. So it's difficult. It's difficult to come up here and not be changed by it. And when we're coming back in from a weekend trip, we can do it any weekend that the weather is permitting. And even if the weather's not permitting, a lot of times we go anyway. It's so easy to full send. I know it's kind of trendy and cliche now, I guess, but man, it's crazy. It's crazy. I feel, again, I've mentioned it before, that I feel like I'm 24 years old. I'm fresh out of college and I have just so much energy to do stuff. And there's so much to do. And there's that wild part of me that, it's being listened to. And it feels so good, and it feels so refreshing to have such access to that. And it's not cumbersome whatsoever to get outside and go for a walk in nature and just feel that medicinal property of being in the woods and hearing birds. And there's no dull hum of traffic behind it. Yeah, it's crazy. So anyway, coming in with that boat and then at the dock, hey man, good job. Everyone that came by and saw the bear, oh, it's a nice bear. No, you didn't have that. How dare you? Accusatory. Everybody knows up here it's spring bear, so you gotta eat it. And you took it, and then also in the circle of life things, anytime any bear you take out, you're saving a whole bunch of fawns because they prey on the fawns. You just see things for how they are and how they really work. I don't really know the backstory about how this meat got to the grocery store, but it did, and I'm going to buy it. I don't know the dynamics of this lettuce. This lettuce was grown somewhere, and it's good, and it's healthy, and it's organic. Well, I mean, were there hogs trying to eat the lettuce that were killed? Were there deer that were trying to eat the lettuce that were killed? I don't know, and I don't care. And I'm not trying to be judgmental for people who are vegans or vegetarian. I'm not anti-vegan or vegetarian. Do whatever you want. Do it because for the right reasons. Do it because you love it. But things are so unbelievably complex. And to be in a place like Ketchikan or when I was on Prince of Wales, when I lived there, things are really, really simple. Because you are involved and you have so much more control over your happiness and your food acquisition and everything, your entertainment. You don't have to be at the mercy of who's playing tonight on TV. I have a TV that I just watch Netflix. I just watch Meat Eater and I just rewatch those episodes of hunting and being outside. I'll look on ESPN and see who won, and I definitely don't want the Cavs to win. It'd be great if it was the Celtics and the Golden State Warriors, and I wouldn't mind either one of those teams winning. But that's not, my happiness is not dependent upon the outcome of that game. Whereas in California, I may have been a little bit more dependent upon that because day in, day out, I get home from work, I'm at home. There's not something right outside. I'm looking right outside here at a forest. Right there is a forest. There's a creek in that forest right there. So if I go outside, I hear the sound of a creek. And I'm in town. I'm not way out the road. So anyway, yeah, bear story and a little bit of local stuff there. But that will do it for this episode. Make sure you go to themediocrealaskan.com. Check that out. Got content and stuff. I got some new stuff from or on the Caffeine and Kilos website. I got stuff coming out in Western Hunting Journal in this month, and some articles in Alaska Sporting Journal. Again, trying to really up the freelance side game. Why not? It's something that I like to do, so why would I not do it? Dumb to not do it. Listen on the Gas Station Cappuccino podcast today, which is the podcast for Caffeine and Kilos. And Danny and Dina were talking about if something scares you, that means you should probably do it. Danny's taking piano lessons with his daughter, and his daughter is not really good, but she's doing it, so he's doing it too. So he's this 30-some-year-old dude taking piano lessons with 5-year-olds and 10-year-olds and kids, and there's going to be a piano recital, and he's going to do it because why not? What are you afraid of? You're afraid of embarrassment. You're afraid of people have sucked at things for forever. That's the point. This mediocre Alaskan is you're going to be terrible at first, or it's going to be potentially embarrassing, but you're only as embarrassed as you allow yourself to be. And if you try to insulate yourself or protect yourself from anything that might be embarrassing or that might make you look weird or bad or from being bad, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I've been rejected by a lot of magazine publications, and even sometimes they'll reject you flat out. Other times it just won't respond to you. But that's part of it, man. You can't be so. One of the comments they made that some of the things that they're most excited about as far as that business, they're tentative at first or they have to get over that tentativeness because that might be the thing that people don't like. And if you love it so much and they don't like it, it's almost like they're accusing you. It's almost like it's your fault. But if there's something that you just go and you just do it, you have the potential to be good. Or if it doesn't, it's not personal, but you're trying, and that's the point. So anyway, plug for the Gas Station Cappuccino by Caffeine and Kilos. Check that out. Go to themediocrealaskan.com. Check out my stuff, and we will talk to you next time.